Welcome to module number 4. We're going to talk about psychological interventions. So the whole philosophy of this MOOC, as you saw, is living with ADHD. And previously we've talked about medication, psychostimulants notably, but of course there's not only medication in the picture. When we intervene, we also want to integrate psychological interventions. So what we're going to talk about in this module specifically is how diagnostic symptoms actually pose a certain number of problems on which we can intervene, psychologically speaking. And we also have associated symptoms of ADHD, which are going to pose some obstacles to development. And psychological interventions, again, may be useful, especially to figure out an individual's strength as well as points of vulnerabilities, to get acquainted with specific development of the individual and how we may be able to help. So, for example, if I am an individual with a diagnosis of ADHD, I'm likely to find it useful to get interested in how my symptoms work, what are the kinds of problems that are associated in my functioning. Because, for example, I can be somebody that tends to interrupt people quite a bit, and that can pose difficulties in my social relationships. I can be an individual who loses a lot of stuff, important stuff that actually poses some problems on a daily basis. Or I can also be an individual that has, for example, difficulties in planning either my homework or my work professionally. And that can impede actually my progression or the kinds of ambitions that I have for myself. So the idea here of living with is really to get interested in how these different domains function, how the symptoms function, and that is going to help me as an individual to find solutions and to be able to adapt to the different contexts that I'm likely to face as I develop. Now, if you're a professional, you'll find in this module the different kinds of interventions that you can use for specific problems, specific symptoms. Of course, all of these interventions, or most of these actually, are going to necessitate some specific training, but you'll find it useful to be able to know your options, which type of modality you can use, which type of target, for which type of age group you can employ. So how are we going to do this in this fourth module? We are going to first start with a focus on some definitions and some key psychological processes that we want to intervene on. Second, our team is going to give you some more information on the specific modalities of treatment. So, for example, psychoeducative treatment, or individual psychotherapy treatment, or group or family therapy. And finally, in the third lesson, we are going to focus more specifically on psychological processes that have to do with regulation, so attentional regulation, emotional regulation, but also interpersonal competencies, social cognitive competencies that you'll probably find useful. We are going to end this module with a bit of a literature review on the multimodal intervention. So that is, usually interventions are going to associate different types of modalities. Okay, so we're going to review a study for children as well as adolescents and adults. Okay, so actually that's quite a bit of work. So let's get to it.